Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to ask you because we were talking about your father. So, how does your mom fit into it when you when you
She
were living in
doesn't.
Paris versus here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you mean? How she fit
but so
into it?
what is in terms of how does she feel about your art and music?
Uh, no, she was extremely like I. Yeah, I mean, I think now I'm an adult. I have very little contact with her. Uh,
Hmm.
she's paranoid schizophrenic, so it's almost
Oh.
impossible to have contact with her. Um,
Mm.
and she was very abusive to most of us, but more one of my brothers than me. And so I don't feel any duty to have contact with somebody that difficult. So I don't really know a whole lot what she thinks. But when I was
Mhm.
growing up, like she wasn't supportive at all. Like it was no.
Mm.
And then I was also growing up in in French culture, which ironically because you have all this amazing art in France and all this, but it's not at all a culture that appreciates art. Like it's very hierarchical. Like if you're smart, you're gonna do science. If you're like
Mhm.
so, you're gonna go into economics or whatever. You know, that's in high school. There's like three different branches, and then uh, if you know if you're dumb, like oh you're gonna do a working class job, or if you're dumb and your parents have money, then you're gonna go into art. You know,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
so like she had the backing of the culture. You know, like when I was growing up, uh, like, and so yeah, so I was definitely not encouraged at all by her
Mm.
to do any of that. Yeah, I mean, I really wanted a guitar. I was like 7 years old. I knew what I wanted to do, you know, and so she wouldn't let me. So I would make I would try to make guitars out of Kleenex boxes and rubber bands, and
No.
they sound like
Mhm.
well, no, not really. It sounded like a sitar kind of yeah. Ding, ding, ding,
Mhm.
ding, ding.
Do you think that influenced your art and music, the relationship with your mom?
Uh, oddly, it did, and it not by like opposition. Like it was never like oh like fuck her, I'm gonna be a musician. But it was more like that was I wanted to breathe. So when I got more
Mhm.
freedom, I was able to do that more. Uh, but then I think in a weird way it did because she's paranoid schizophrenic and so she just living on her own planet, you know, and
Mm.
Mhm.
so there's a lot of downsides about it, but at the same time, it's like I'm completely okay with doing like not living like other people. Like I never feel that pressure because I like she never felt that pressure. Like she didn't care.
Yeah,
So so there's certain freedom I think that came with that. But yeah.
that's a pretty tough, awful disease. There's a girl that I was hanging out with in New York who she told me her mom was schizophrenic, her aunt was schizophrenic, and her older sister was
Mm.
schizophrenic. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
I'm sure you've researched some of this that if you have it in the family, you have a much higher likelihood of getting it yourself. I don't know if it's more for women than men,
I don't know.
but have you ever looked into that? Have you ever thought? Or ever been nervous, thinking, "Oh, geez, I hope I don't like." I don't know what age your mom was
Yeah.
when she discovered she had that disease, but is that something that's crossed your mind at all?
Uh it actually only when I was 17, my last year of high school, I got in a I found out she had been like writing to a girlfriend that I had like 2 years earlier, and she was telling her things like I was crazy and stuff like that, and I'm gonna come back to her. And all. It was just like this, and so I got
Hmm.
mad. I got really mad at her, um, and I think while we were arguing, like I kicked her handbag, and but she happened to think I was trying to attack her or something, so she left the apartment, and I lived alone for my year of high school. So and during that year, I was feeling pretty crazy, and
Mhm.
at first I thought, well, well, but the thing is, at the time, I didn't even know. I didn't even think my mom is paranoid schizophrenic. That's years later. Because when you're growing up in that, you don't see it. You just think
Yeah.
that's normal, or and so. But I thought, wow, I felt pretty crazy at times, and then so later on, I thought, well, maybe I was like going through like an abscess, like letting go of something I was growing up with, and then like like a crisis of some kind. And then I
Mhm.
think just in the last 2 years, I figured, oh, I was probably going through like panic attacks or something. So that's the only
Yeah.
time that I really, other than that, yeah, I feel like yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would know it somehow because I know her patterns and what it does. So
Yeah, it's tough with family. Like I've got family members that I haven't talked to in years, and sometimes you have to just realize it's better to keep a distance. You know,
Yeah,
so
well, with her, it's just like it's impossible to have a real conversation. Like if I
Hmm.
haven't talked to her in 2 years and I start talking to her again, and she's like, "Oh, did you know like Joe Biden got elected to ruin your music career?" Like, she'll believe it. Like, so
yeah,
what do you talk about next? You
yeah,
know?
If she
yeah.
she obviously doesn't isn't medicated.
No, and I think she's way past the point. That's the thing that's
Mm-hmm.
really problematic and fascinating about the disease, if you can call it that way, is that
Mm-hmm.
it's like any living organism. It wants to preserve itself. So the more disease is strong, the more it causes self denial. So
Mm-hmm.
that's part of
Yeah.
it. So the more you're deep into schizophrenia, the more you deny. I don't know if that's the case
Mm-hmm.
for everybody, but and then and
Yeah.
also when I say paranoid schizophrenic, it's just my assumption because
Mm.
because I've read a bunch of stuff about it, but it wasn't like some
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis because I don't know if she ever was diagnosed. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but
That's it's tough too. You know, who knows? I mean, I've I've had so many issues with mental health stuff over the years too. Tried different medications and stuff, and it's a tough thing. I mean, the world is in a. I think they said the other day that something like 65 to 70% of Americans at some point or other in their lives are on
wow,
antipsychotic or mental health medications. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're all taking meds we shouldn't be taking, but yeah. So